This is it right here.
Combining a team of reporters, columnists, and commentators.
Don't you ever talk about me!
Are you serious?
Jack Ebling has brought thought-provoking discussion.
What are you doing?
That's a damn coaching mistake!
Opinion.
The customer is the one who decides when the future gets here.
Oh, no! The ship is on fire!
You have to check the report.
Are you kidding me?
That game was fixed.
And overall infotainment.
I'll take Jim Harbaugh.
What has he done?
Crazy Cooter coming at you!
Quiet, please. In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
Thanks, big fella.
Don't you ever come back here again!
No arguments. Those are called ass tunes.
So buckle up.
You talking to me?
It's time for The Drive with Jack Ebling.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little tall on radio.
Great afternoon, Mid-Michigan and beyond, and welcome to The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here with my producer today, Boston Rob, on a frozen Friday afternoon. It is exactly 0 degrees here in downtown Lansing. Wind chill of minus 11, but don't worry, it's going to cool off. It's supposed to be minus 5 or minus 6 by the time we get out of the hockey game tonight at Munn Ice Arena. And, Rob, we have a very special guest in studio for the whole 2 hours. He's going to be my co-host today, and he's a natural for this. The problem is, he's in Mississippi. But he's here now. That's what counts. And he was at Breslin Center last night for the MSU women's win. Actually, they won that game 3 times over at University of Southern California. He will be here for a couple hockey games, men's basketball tomorrow. You never know where you're going to see Steve Waite. Steve, welcome.
Thank you, Jack. Glad to be here. And this gets me out of the winter storm that's going to hit Mississippi. So I'm glad to be in frigid Michigan.
How do people deal with winter storms in Mississippi?
If anyone sees a snowflake, it shuts everything down.
Well, we have a lot of snowflakes around here, but in terms of what we are dealing with, I think we were spoiled. Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last 2 years were relatively mild for us, right?
Oh, you're correct. Yes.
And this year, it is revenge.
Yeah, Mother Nature has not been kind to us so far this winter.
Okay, Mother, we give up. Okay, we surrender. It's over. You win. Steve, let's talk a little bit about your trip up. And as you made the journey northward, you didn't experience a lot of snow and bad weather.
I didn't see any snow at all until Gas City, Indiana, and it was crusty old snow.
Yeah.
Then really the worst part of the drive in on Thursday was from Charlotte to Hazlitt, where I'm staying with my in-laws.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because Greenland, which has been in the news a lot of late, is not that green. It's a lot of ice and snow. And everyone thinks of Michigan State and associate the color green, and I haven't seen green in about 10 days outside.
Outside? Well, okay. You didn't see me outside, but I had green on.
Wow, there you go. And for those of you who are not watching this show on YouTube, and you can, we're going to be doing this on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and most Fridays. Steve is resplendent in his Tigers, what would you call that?
It's a Tigers hockey sweater.
Tigers hockey sweater, I love it. And your Ferris State Bulldogs baseball cap. I told you this guy knows more about sports than anyone south of the Mason-Dixon line in terms of the state of Michigan. And I don't just mean Michigan State. I'm talking about college sports at all level, high school sports, the pros. How much time do you spend in a day following sports, either watching it, checking your phone, reading about it, that you are consumed by sports?
So I'll check for the new polls when they come out during the day, but I'm really not checking until that evening.
Okay. Well, when you do
and then I'm watching all the scores. Yeah. And I'll typically have potentially 2 games on. If the Wings are playing, I'll have the Wings on and somebody else.
Yeah. So, Rob, when I'm at a game, I don't need to check for anything. I just need to keep my phone there and just look at Steve's messages because I'm going to know everything I need to know right? I mean, I want a hockey score in the Northeast. I want a women's basketball score in the Midwest. If I don't want a hockey score in the Northeast or a women's basketball score, I'm still going to get them. So that's all right. That's fine. And we should say that not only do you have a very strong love for Michigan State, but Oklahoma, you're a Sooner.
Mm-hmm.
And last night, how about OU and what they did against the other USC?
The OU women were just amazing last night. They almost gave it away, much like Michigan State tried to in the fourth quarter last night.
Yeah.
But then the women defeated second-ranked South Carolina in the Lloyd Noble Center in Norman in overtime by 12 points, and really were led by their freshman guard, Alyssa Gomez, who was the number one recruit coming out in this year's freshman class. So she went for 3 threes in the overtime period, and that really was the difference. And it was a huge win for Oklahoma because they'd lost 3 in a row. Yeah, 3 tough ones because LSU was in that mix with Ole Miss. And,
Okay, so probably 1 or 2 of our listeners might care a little bit about what you just said, but that's all right. That's part of the program here.
Yep.
So what was of greatest interest to you on the trip north? Seeing MSU women's basketball. You love women's basketball. I mean, you're talking about making another trip north maybe to see if Michigan State and Michigan both host, right?
And hopefully host on alternate days, right?
Right,
so it can be in East Lansing one day and
to see the
Ann Arbor the next.
Right. Saturday, Monday, the whole deal.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Or MSU hockey, which you love. You've made trips up to see, and you're going to see 2 games this weekend. MSU men's basketball, which would be the logical answer for most people, but not necessarily for you. Or people, it.
I think all of the above.
All the above.
But hockey primarily, coming off the series sweep in Madison last week, and knowing that last year when I came up for the Penn State series, they lost both games. So if they lose tonight, I might not go tomorrow just out of difference to Coach Nightingale and the Spartans if I'm the bad omen.
Okay, first of all, one thing I want to make very clear. There are no jinxes.
Okay, all right.
Okay?
All right, yep.
If you're a superstitious person, that's going to be a problem. So you have less than 0 impact on the outcome tonight. I know that your voice, your support as a group, okay? But individually, you don't have skates on. You're not going to be on the ice. You're not going to be calling penalties. So whether you are there or you are not there, the score is going to be the same. Yeah. But I think it's an important weekend for Michigan State hockey. And I'm not talking about the standings. I'm talking about what happened with Dan Sturgis, the death of the whole program.
Yeah.
We will get back into that. But we do have a very special guest on to lead off the show. And he is Jim Gum, the brains behind the Blitz. Like you, Steve. He is from the South. He's from Cleveland. Not Cleveland, Ohio, Cleveland, Tennessee. And Jim, say hello to Steve Waite from Jackson, Mississippi.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Fine, Jim. How are you today?
I am doing fairly well, I guess.
Okay, it's good to know that I have 2 guests on here, a co-host and a guest, both of whom from a region of the country that can't get a team in the college football playoff final. Jim, I told you about my slogan that I want Tony Petitti to adopt, didn't I?
I think you shared that one with me.
Commissioner of the Big Ten now, the conference getting 3 different national champions the past 3 years. If you want to count Michigan's, that's 3 in a row. Looks like basketball, the Big Ten is positioned with 5 teams in the top 11 to make a strong run at a national championship. Hockey, the Big Ten has teams ranked 1, 2, 4, right? Just won the men's soccer championship out of Washington. We know the gymnastics is very viable. Instead of the Big Ten listening to the SEC saying it just means more, Jim, I want Tony Petitti to have a campaign that says, we just win more.
Oh, my goodness. That's good stuff, man.
Hey, I want to talk about the latest issue of the Blitz. And Steve, I've said this several times this season, but this is one of the best. Okay, starting with a tribute to Indiana. Sorry, Rob, close your ears. Indiana wins the national championship and goes through that in some detail, and then compares. I thought this was great, Steve. Compares the preseason top 30 and the top 30 now.
Yep.
And you see Indiana was 25 going into the season, from 25 to 1. And, of course, Ohio State was 1, didn't fall that far. Georgia was 3. That's right. But Penn State was number 4. Clemson was number 6. And, Jim, in the interest of full disclosure, I had Penn State and Clemson meeting. I just didn't have it in the Pinstripe Bowl.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, obviously my preseason top 30, a little different from what the AP poll was. But, no, I mean, I had Indiana lower than the Associated Press, so they outdid me this year. But, listen, I'll be the first to admit it. I just did not think that Indiana could do it 2 years in a row.
Right.
I thought they'd be good. I thought they'd have a winning season. I thought they'd go to a bowl game. I did not think they'd do what they did. But, man, Curt Cignetti has just made a believer out of me.
Steve, did you think Indiana would come close to what it did a year ago or have a fall-off?
I didn't think they'd necessarily have a fall-off, but I didn't think they'd become national champions and go 16-0.
Right, exactly. You also spend a lot of time looking at the 2025-26 postseason, and you go through every bowl game. Steve, you probably watched as many of these as anyone. You and Jim might be tied with Tom Crawford for first place of people I know. Did you have a favorite bowl game? I'm not talking about Indiana, Miami, but at some point through this whole month, did you have one game that you go back and watch over and over?
Probably Houston LSU. That was a
good one.
Yeah, it was a Donnybrook, as they say, and just the underlying storyline there too with LSU and Lane.
Oh yeah. I don't know why, because I've never really rooted for LSU since the Billy Cannon days, but now I'm like rooting for LSU to lose every game. Is that just me? And
no, that
the
would
way
be
I'm
the
wired?
consensus in Mississippi as well.
I'll bet. Jim, what about you? Is there one postseason game you look back on and you say, that's what the bowl season should be?
Well, there's two of them that stand out to me. Illinois defeating Tennessee in the Liberty Bowl was a really good. And Iowa, what they did to Vanderbilt, I don't think most people thought that was going to happen. But Iowa really showed that they've turned the corner from what they were a few years ago. They can play. They can score points. And that But those two kind of stand out as far as the bowls that were not part of the CFP.
You go through postseason records in the 2020s for every conference and every team in every conference. And let's just take the Big Ten here. Okay, Rob, you're up. Which Big Ten team has the best bowl record in the 2020s?
I thought this would be Steve's, the guest co-host would be answering these questions.
We're going to let him clean up after your mistakes.
Oh, great. What's the question again? I wasn't paying attention.
As usual. No. Which Big Ten team program has the best bowl record in the 2020s?
Well, the obvious would be Ohio State, right?
That would not be correct. Ohio State has 4 losses.
We'll go, you know what? We'll go Michigan.
Would not be Michigan.
Okay.
Michigan has been dismal other than the year that it all came together. Which team is 4-0 in bowl games, Jim?
Yeah, Minnesota. And I think this is accurate. I think they've won 8 consecutive bowls now.
Yeah.
But obviously 4 since 2020.
Yeah.
Then they missed 1 year. They didn't go to a bowl. But, yeah, no, it's not like Minnesota's going to the Rose Bowl.
Right.
Okay? Right. They're going to decent bowls and playing okay competition. But, the bottom line is they're winning every time they get in a bowl game.
Yeah. And Michigan State, in a very unusual situation, gentlemen, 1,000 winning percentage in the postseason in the 2020s, and it was a New Year's Six bowl. Now, they don't want to talk about the other 4 years, but they did have that win in the Peach Bowl. And, yeah, Peach Bowl was this year a national semifinal, so, they're going to revel in that, and every time Kenneth Walker III touches the ball in the postseason. So there is that as well. But you go through so much of the postseason and the records by team, by league, and you look at the eventual national champions here through the years, which is very interesting to me, and the week-by-week rankings of every team. So you can see the trajectory. Steve, as you look at this, it's funny how some teams start under the radar, and here they are.
Yes.
Ole Miss, right, was a team that certainly improved throughout the course of the season. Not that people thought they'd be bad, but no one knew Trinidad Chambliss down in Mississippi.
Right.
Right?
He wasn't even the starter on day one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. As you look at a team, Jim, that either had a meteoric rise or a free fall with no parachute, which team comes to mind in 2025?
Well, I mean, I guess I always look at the teams that I had high expectations for, and they failed miserably. Obviously, you mentioned it earlier, Clemson and Penn State. I mean, nobody thought that both those teams would do what they ended up doing, but, man, they just had a free fall that you just could not predict. Right. Those stand out more to me, I guess, than the teams that make the big rise in the rankings. Now, I mean, you had teams like, Texas A&M was not ranked to begin the season. They ended up finishing in the top 10. So those kind of stories are pretty good, too. They came out of nowhere sometimes. But I guess I'm a Debbie Downer, and I think of the negative stuff before the positive, I guess. And that's probably my nature, unfortunately. But, I just look at Penn State and Clemson because I didn't think that this would happen to both those programs.
Jim, you are a historian. I love that about you. And you go through the last 15 seasons with all of the postseason matchups here between top 10 teams. As we look back on year 2 of the 12-team playoff, aside from the Indiana Miracle, how will this postseason be remembered?
Well, I mean, I think it'll be remembered for what Miami ended up doing, even though they came up short in the national championship game. And a lot of people thought they didn't even deserve to be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, based on the news that came out today, if the rules that are set in place in 2026 were set in place in 2025, Miami would not have even made the field. So that I think that's interesting. So, no, I think Miami showed that and I'm going to say, I think the U is back as long as Cristobal stays there. Mm-hmm. Now, there's some noise out there that, the Steelers are trying to woo him. But I think as long as he's there, they've got the money funneled into that program. They're getting good players left and right. So I think that's the one that stands out to me.
Steve, how will you remember the 2025 postseason other than the Hoosier hysteria?
So I'll remember it for Ole Miss's run.
Yeah.
In essence, without Lane Kiffin and coming together, beating Georgia.
30 seconds away from being in the national championship game?
Yes. And the fact that, I got the Fair State hat on, that Trinidad Chambliss almost won back-to-back national championships at two different levels.
Jim, what's Trinidad Chambliss's future? We know now with the court involvement. Can't close the book on college football, but are we going to be watching him for a long time?
Yeah, I think we're going to watch him play college football once again next year. Now, you know how I feel about this. I don't think Pavia should have been eligible. I don't think Chambliss should be eligible. I'm old school when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
But the way these, they're using the courts to make these guys eligible, and it's so funny because, what judge in Mississippi is going to rule against him? It's kind of like the judge in Alabama allowing a G5 player to play for the Crimson Tide basketball program. It's absurd and it's ridiculous. But the NCAA they seem to be they cower. They don't put a foot down. They just let this stuff go on. I don't know, man. I just think it's wrong. That's just my opinion, but I don't know what's going to happen. But no, I do think Chambliss is going to play for Ole Miss in 2026.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially since all the judges in Mississippi are Ole Miss law grads. So,
yeah. I'm looking at the comparison of conferences, and I love the way you break this down, league by league, year by year. So you can see if something is a trend or an anomaly or a habit. And Big Ten, 11-6 in 24-25, and this year 11-5, and one of those losses was a game between schools in the league with Indiana and Oregon, so someone had to lose it. But if you look at that,
and then last year Ohio State beat Oregon,
there
so that's
go.
the same deal last year too.
Same thing. And the SEC 4-10, and we had an all SEC matchup at some point, didn't we?
We had two of them.
Yes.
Two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so
we had two of them.
So against non-SEC teams, only won 2 games.
Yeah, they were 2-8 when they played other leagues.
Wow. And the league with the best winning percentage, the only league that was 1,000, won every postseason game it played, Steve, was what?
Pac-12.
Pac-12, exactly. And the only one that was 0-1 was Independence. Now, if Notre Dame had decided to participate, might have been different. If you look at what Miami was able to do, I'm thinking that might have been the case, but we will never know. And then you go through the final standings, and it's we kind of know our own conferences, right? We kind of remember where they figured out, but it's fun to look back at the others and see, and it conjures up so many memories of the football season. You also go through every head coach who has participated in the college football playoff from 2014 through 25. So we're talking about 12 seasons, right? And in those 12 seasons, we have 16 coaches who coached in the CFP and did not get a win. They're 0-1 in that time frame. But there are some coaches who have done very well in it. And, how about Ed Orgeron?
Coach
O. Go Tigers.
I mean, he's the only one who hasn't lost, right?
I miss him. I really do.
Yeah. 1,000 winning percentage. Again, that's a one-hit wonder. But, Signetti this year, the only one who was 1,000 with his wins, his 3 wins. So that's also fun to see, and it would surprise you some of the names of coaches who have gotten in and have not won. I was listening to Jimbo Fisher on Sirius XM, and they make him sound like he invented football. He didn't have a win in the college football playoff. So,
Jim, I got a question on in this list. In this list, how many are still at the school that they're tied to in this list? Right, Orgeron's gone.
Yeah,
go ahead.
We've got Signetti, Cristobal, Freeman. He's still there. Of course, Urban Meyer's retired. Pete Golding has now got 3 games under his belt, leading into it. He hadn't won a regular season game yet, though. Pete Golding has it. Of course, James Franklin's now at a different school. Saban's retired. Kirby Smart's still at Georgia. Ryan Day's still at Ohio State. So Dabo Sweeney is still at Clemson. I was wondering about how much longer he's going to be there. Kalen DeBoer. And I'll tell you this, Kalen DeBoer is on the hottest of hot seats in the country. The fan base down there, they are not happy with him in the least.
Well,
he's just not doing what they're. Listen, they got spoiled. And he's losing recruits to the portal. And he's replacing them with lesser players. I think Alabama probably next year preseason probably top 15, top 20. They won't be top 10 though.
And if Kyle Whittingham had not decided to leave Utah and get back into coaching, I think Kalen DeBoer would be in Ann Arbor right now, even if Michigan had to wait a week longer than it expected to make that move. And I don't think Alabama would have minded. Certainly there's some alums who would have driven them to the airport. But
yes.
Kalen DeBoer is the only guy who has coached in the CFP for multiple schools.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Took Washington to the national championship game that they lost to Michigan. But then, of course, this past year, he got Alabama, beat Oklahoma in the first-round game, and then got throttled by Indiana. But so he's been there, 2 different times. So I'm sure this list, through the years, we'll see more and more coaches with multiple teams. But it's still in its infancy, I guess.
I do this every week, Steve. When I start talking with Jim, I say, okay, we have this many minutes, and I have to allow time to talk about the National Football League, and then I always overdo it and run out of time. But we are to the conference finals, and what can you tell us about Jarrett Stidham?
I know he hasn't played in a while. It's so funny, you're getting all these reports out of Denver that he's looked good and all this stuff. I mean, everyone looks good in practice. Okay,
yeah.
What's he going to do the first time there's a safety blitz?
Right.
He just stuff like this is going to happen. Now that being said, Denver is the home team. They're playing in the thin air up there in Denver, so you got to give Denver a little bit of a home field advantage,
right.
But. I just love the way that this New England team is coming together right now.
Yeah,
I think the game to watch is that second game. I think the Rams and Seahawks, they've played each other twice this year, and both games have been like coin flips.
All right,
so I think these two teams really match up.
Jim, quick questions. I need one-word answers. Who wins the conference championship games?
New England and Seattle.
Kind of a trick question because New England is not a one-word answer, but that's.
You're right,
Steve. What do you think?
Right.
So I like New England. Both games will be outside. It'll be cold weather.
Oh yeah.
And I like the Rams. They were plus 14 in turnover margin during the regular season, and Matthew Stafford's their quarterback.
Yeah. You got the Matthew Stafford thing going, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You break down the playoffs, the bracket, go through every score of every postseason game, but then you go through the history of these conference championships, not the Super Bowl, but the conference championships, and many of these, Jim, have been better games than the Super Bowls.
Oh, I love Championship Sunday in the NFL. I do, and it's some of my greatest memories of the NFL occur in these AFC and NFC championship games. And you look back at some of these and you remember, the venues, you remember the quarterbacks, you remember the controversy. I still remember back in I can't remember the year. It was not even on this list. It's still when the Steelers beat the Oilers at Three River Stadium, and Renfro was in the inbounds. There was a touchdown that was taken off the board. It was a touchdown for the Oilers. They didn't have replay back then, and you wonder if the Steelers, because the Steelers went on to win the Super Bowl, you wonder what would have happened had there been replay.
Yeah.
And Renfro was inbound, so I wouldn't have been able to fit that on here. But
right.
There's so many great memories of AFC and NFC championship games. I love Championship Sunday.
You break them down game by game, going back through for 40 years here, and you can see all the scores. You remember plays from each one, from the AFC and the NFC. And then you did something that really took me back down memory lane, Jim. You talk about Super Bowls and the announcers of every Super Bowl. And a lot of people, you could win a lot of bar bets on this one, Steve. Who are the broadcasters for Super Bowl I?
Ray Scott and Jack Whitaker.
That was a CBS team.
Yes.
Okay.
That was the first half. That was the first half.
There you go.
All right.
Ray Scott did the first half. I think Jack Whitaker did the second half.
That's right. They did half by half. But Kurt Gowdy did it on NBC, and they had two broadcasts running. It's like a political convention where each network has its own coverage, and then you had color commentators. Frank Gifford was on CBS. Paul Chrisman great quarterback, was on NBC. And then you had the sideline reporters. Sideline reporters, you don't think of that as the greatest job normally, but you had Pat Summerall and Charlie Jones were your sideline reporters. So we say, who broadcast Super Bowl I? Well, you need 7 names. Yeah. Phenomenal stuff. So
I love stuff like that. I love going back and looking at all this kind of stuff because it takes me back too. So I'm a big fan of all this stuff as well.
So Jim, for my planning purposes, I told you that I have a ritual waiting for the blitz to show up in my inbox, right? But now with the Super Bowl, there's a break. There's no more college football, maybe some portal activity, some movement here and there. But what is your publication schedule now for the next couple of weeks?
Well, you'll get a Super Bowl issue. There will be a Super Bowl preview issue. The biggest break between the two blitz issues is between the Super Bowl issue and I do a college basketball March Madness issue, which that's not done until mid-March. So you'll get a Super Bowl issue on Monday morning, and then there won't be anything for about 6 weeks. Gives me time to just chill for a little bit. But, we pick it back up. And it's our only non-football issue is the March Madness issue because I just feel like there's so much interest there. So we started doing that 10 years ago, I guess, and we've never stopped. But so that's the longest break is between the Super Bowl and the March Madness issue.
So you're saying I have 6 weeks to do laundry and clean up some things that I normally don't get to.
But you will get a Super Bowl issue. You will get a Super Bowl issue on Monday morning.
Okay. And will there be a post-Super Bowl issue as well?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. Well, most people will be so bleary-eyed at that point that it won't matter. By the way, if you have not seen the Blitz, if you have not availed yourself of that tremendous opportunity, and as we get onto the Super Bowl, you want to look smart at your Super Bowl party, the best way to do it is to send Jim a quick email, just to Jim Gumm, JIMGUMM, 3 M's, one in the first name, 2 in the second, jimgum.blitz@gmail.com, at yahoo.com, either way, and he will take great care of you. Jim, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Okay. Enjoy the conference championships.
All right. You guys do the same, and I hope you guys have a great winter up there in Michigan.
We're just trying to not turn into Eskimos up here.
I hope you survive the weekend with the storm coming through.
Oh, yeah. All right. We're going to take a break. When we get back, Connor Eargood of the Detroit News will join us. And Steve, he'll talk Michigan State men's basketball and hockey and much, much more. We'll be right back on The Drive with Jack.
Jack Ebling here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graph of Okemos. Some great product here in early 2026.
You got it, Jack. Here at Chevy, we have, backed by popular demand, the all-new Bolt, redesigned and back in full force for us. People are really excited about that vehicle. It did great for us in the past.
Great.
And then next door, the Nissan Sentra, completely redesigned for that model. Great fuel economy. It's going to be a hot seller for us.
Stop and see Matt and the gang at Graph of Okemos. They're making friends.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our team of school bus drivers and attendants. Visit deanjobs.com to see all openings. Dean Transportation provides paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license, increased starting pay, comprehensive benefits, and flexible schedules with no weekend shifts. No experience needed. Apply today at deanjobs.com and train for back to school season. That's DEAN jobs.com.
Amy here from One North Kitchen and Bar. Tuesdays are family fun night at One North. Kids under 12 eat free with the purchase of an adult entree. Bring the whole crew to One North in Lansing, Jackson, or now East Lansing. Good food, happy kids, and an easy win for the family every Tuesday.
Are you passionate about college sports? Foster Swift Sports Talk is your go-to podcast dedicated to addressing the hottest topics in college athletics, including recruiting practices, NIL, the trade portal, collectives, and revenue generation.
Join us as we bring you insights from student athletes, college head coaches, administrators, and other industry leaders as they share their experiences in this rapidly changing arena.
Our mission is to share information and help educate student athletes, parents, coaches, and other stakeholders with the knowledge, resources, and strategies they need to make informed decisions and maximize each college athlete's potential for long-term success. Check out our latest episode where we're joined by Trav Moore and Coach Rob Zimmerman from DeWitt to discuss their state championship run. Like and subscribe to our YouTube and Facebook pages to watch all of our episodes, or you can give us a listen on any of your favorite podcasting platforms by simply searching Foster Swift Sports Talk. Until next time, I'm your host, Dave Russell.
Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, the Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here with my producer, Boston Rob, in the control booth, and Steve Waite here co-hosting today, Mid-Michigan's Gift to Mississippi. I want to welcome in Connor Eargood from the Detroit News. Does a terrific job, Steve, covering MSU football, basketball, hockey, I've seen gymnastics, pretty much man for all seasons. Connor, what's on your agenda this weekend? I know you've got basketball, but there's also a hockey set here with Minnesota. Where am I going to see you?
Yeah, you're going to see me if you're at the hockey game tonight. I'm actually driving there right now, getting on the road. And weather's so cold, the polar bears are going to Florida. So it's it should be a good game. Obviously honoring Dan Sturgis and his tragic loss on Monday. He's been on a lot of minds this week in the hockey community, and obviously the basketball game too. So it should be a pretty busy week in Michigan State on the calendar.
Steve, there was a time that we, I think, still both remember when we were young reporters at the Lansing State Journal, and just kind of cutting our teeth in this business. Connor's ahead of where either of us were. At this age. I mean, it hadn't even dawned on me. The light hadn't gone on at Connor's age, and here he is, and he's doing all these great things. Spent last week out at Pacific Northwest watching Michigan State play basketball and now covering Spartan hockey. When you think back to your career and all the things you had a chance to do, including writing a great book, Rivalry Saturday, and working for Gannett and doing all the things that you had a chance to do in different parts of the country, what advice would you have for Connor?
Just keep doing it. Keep making it a passion, Connor, and don't be afraid of any assignment. I was assigned the bowling column at the State Journal because, in a sense, nobody else wanted. Yeah. And I wrote a column saying they should bring the WIBC tournament at the time here, and it happened. Yeah. And it brought 21.
You had a hand in that.
Yeah, and it brought $21 million into the community, into Greater Lansing.
Yeah, absolutely. Connor, do you have a question for Steve Waite, who? He's not quite as old as I am, few are, but he has seen about as much from a different part of the country. Anything you love to tap into other people's experiences and read and avail yourself of all the knowledge that is available. Any question you would have for Steve?
Yeah, Steve, what's your favorite Jack story? That's the question I'm wondering.
Okay, so this is right off the top of my head. My favorite Jack story is we covered a Lions game at the Silver Dome.
Yeah.
And we actually did this more than once. And this is back when technology was very raw.
Yeah.
And Jack had this, Tandy computer. And so Jack
You could see 8 lines, right?
That's right. And Jack would write while I drove, and then when he got done, we'd switch, and actually we'd stop, and Jack would find a payphone or a phone and hook up the couplers.
The couplers, and the phone had to fit in the couplers. Oh.
And send the story, and then we'd switch, and then I'd write the sidebars that I was assigned, and then when we got into the State Journal, I could do that. But there was an instance where we kind of had to break into an establishment to get a phone.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. To transmit. So I'll leave it at that.
All in the name of providing news for our readers. I should also say that Connor, and this is a sad moment, but one I will never forget. Even more than starting the Catch-22 with you, which would not have happened without Steve Waite. I can tell you that right now. But I go to bed very late, and I sleep in usually, right? And so I started breaking into my house, right? This is pre-ice. I know what's going on here. So I stagger to the door, and you are there, and you're telling me about the death of our sports editor.
Yeah, Ed Sinesco.
Sinesco, who has died stepping out of the shower. And, I mean, what a way to start the day. It was incredible. But we've been through an awful lot, Connor. What about this Michigan State basketball team now? And here they are, once again, tied for second behind Nebraska. Can you believe that? And they've got a couple of great opportunities, I think, tomorrow against Maryland, and then rancid Rutgers on the road. Could be 19-2 when they come back to face Michigan in beyond raucous environment at Breslin Center. Is this team ahead of where you thought it would be?
It's certainly ahead of where I thought they would be at the start of the year. I think this is about what I expected of them, right in that sort of top 5 teams in the Big Ten, and contending for a championship. That was the expectation at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Tom didn't do a very good job of hiding his pleasure with how the roster shaped out. Right. I don't think he was really hiding it, but he understood what the matchups and the size and the differences that this roster could do for him. I think they're about where they should be with this roster, and when you have 4 core veterans returning, I think each of them individually, he's talking about Fierce, Cooper Carr, and Kohler, have shown some pretty good performances. And obviously Cohen is now rounding into the player I think we thought he'd be. In some ways, he's still, I think, got a ways to go offensively, and defensively, I think he's taken a lot of steps, especially with his athleticism, sort of turning that into an X factor on the other side of the court. But I think there's still a lot of growth to be had. I think the freshmen, Jordan Scott and Cam Ward, are rounding into some better play. They're still making some freshman mistakes. I was laughing listening to Tom's radio show, him talking about Cam with that foul in the Washington game and trying to stop the break. Maybe at the time I said, well, it looks like he's stopping the break to get into change. I kind of understood what he wanted to do. Doesn't mean it was smart, but I understood it. But no, it's there's still a lot of growth for this roster, and I think that's exciting heading into a Big Ten slate that they play a lot of really tough teams down the second half that I think we've talked about all year, but now it's starting to get to be if they take care of business, and there's still some games to take care of, it should be a pretty good Big Ten race.
We talk about strength in numbers 2.0, Steve. Last year, Michigan State 10 deep, and this year 9, and that doesn't count Wojcik coming in and giving him a blow here and there for Jeremy Fierce. But a lot of people are looking for the star, and Michigan State last year didn't have anyone first team All Big Ten, didn't have anyone second team All Big Ten, and only won the conference by 3 games. So again, this year, do you think Michigan State's going to have an All Big Ten player? Not that matters one whit to Tom Izzo.
Jackson Kohler.
You think he will be?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think he brings
more
so
than
much.
Jeremy Fierce?
Yes.
Okay. Are these guys worthy of being all Big Ten? I think we could say yes. And in other years, it wouldn't be a debate. But I was looking at Rafael Davis's midseason honor list. And, he's got 32 guys going for 5 spots on this thing. So when you figure, okay, I talked to someone from Ann Arbor, and they think that at least 3 Wolverines are going to be on this team. And then you look at Purdue, and they've got, certainly Braden Smith's going to be on it, and you got Nick Martinelli, and you've got guys all over the place now who could be on this team. You could have a really good team. You could have a championship team with guys who are going to get drafted, and they might not be first or second team all Big Ten, Connor.
Yeah, and that's where the league expansion, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you talk about how tough the schedule's gotten, and teams having to go to the West Coast and that effect. But I would also argue that there's an effect on the exposure that some of these players get. The caliber of what an All Big Ten player looks like has changed. It's gotten tougher. And I think national awards too, right? If you think about guys who are going to contend to be All-Americans, like when you play such a tough league schedule and a condensed schedule, and there's all these considerations, and you play more in different types of teams, right? I think that affects how guys are viewed and the perception of what it takes to be one of these sort of elite players. And I think we throw star and elite around quite a bit. It seems like everybody's best player is called elite these days and a star, and even I'm guilty of labeling guys that. But I think I don't know if everyone appreciates just how much tougher, I guess I'd say, and more difficult the schedule has gotten for a lot of these players. I mean, if you think about a guy like Jackson Kohlers, one day he might be guarding a guy who's 6'6", the next day he might be on someone who's 6'10", against guys who are going to shoot a lot of threes, against guys who, are going to be coming him up and in the paint, and obviously playing the 4, he's going to have to do that anyway, but, it's not a Big Ten where it's just a bunch of, teams that are trying to bang away inside and sort of beat each other in a grudge match. You got so many different styles of basketball being played, so many different regions that are being tapped and players, and granted, recruiting has been national for years now. But it feels like, the expansion to the West Coast, and I'd even argue to the East Coast with Maryland and Rutgers, going on 10 years now, more than 10 years. I think that affects it too, and some of the differences. So, it truly is a sort of national league conference, and I think that affects, how guys are perceived.
Steve, Fred Human, who you know, hates it when I say this ad nauseum or Tom Izzo says it's all about the matchups, because I think that's very important. It isn't how good your talent is, it's how it fits against the opponent, right? But there's a matchup this week that I am really curious about, and I want to get both of your takes on this. What would we see with Kurtang against Dorothy Izzo? Steve, what do you think?
Kerr heats up and after a
Kerr
cold
drains
start,
a couple?
Yeah, heats up and drains a couple. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Connor, Dorothy does have an experience edge at 99.5, and at some point in her chair might be more mobile as a defender than Kurtang. But when you heard Tom saying that, could you believe it? First of all, we got it as the intrusive Mike timeout drop. And then he doubled down when Lindsey Schnell from The Athletic asked him that question in the postgame. You're sitting there. What's going through your mind? Could you believe that he said that Kerr was flying to Appleton to go one-on-one in the nursing home?
Oh, I thought that was great. I was laughing at that one. I mean, Tom says better and worse in timeouts all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think all coaches do. That's what timeouts are for. You're trying to motivate guys.
Yeah.
I think it's some people don't appreciate that because they don't see other coaches do that.
Yeah.
And Tom being pretty open with the media and sort of being one of these larger brands in coaching, just naturally is gonna be more involved in that. But it's funny, right? And he's good for a bunch of those quips. And when he inevitably writes a book, if he decides to retire at this point, he might Coach until his dying days. But, whenever he does write a book, I'm sure there'll be plenty of stories from himself and players and everyone about things he said, just on par with that. And, he pointed out yesterday, and I was hearing this in the audio, I was on a plane, pointed out that every coach has their sayings and their idiosyncrasies, and, that's just one of his. And he said he's probably said it to Kerr 100 times. Yeah. And you know what? If he guarded better, he wouldn't hear it again. So, and that's, he builds rapport with his players and trust, and, that's sort of part of the deal when you play for a guy like that. No one on that roster came in not expecting that, right?
Right.
It's pretty up and comes with the territory, but no, it was a great quote, and it certainly made a good clip. And in today's social media age, those are the things that really, really spread like wildfire, and very, very entertaining moment.
Yeah, Steve, it reminds me when Connor's talking about Tom someday maybe doing a book, and it's been a lot of discussion about that. But I think back to Judd at his retirement. And the question was, so Judd, what are you going to do? Your whole life's been basketball. He says, I'm going to finish my book. And eventually he did. We did do the book, but someone said, you're writing a book? He said, no, I'm reading one. That was that's George Melvin, Judd Heathcote. So when you think about that and everything else that goes with it, what happens 1 week from tonight, Connor?
I'm assuming you're talking about Michigan State.
I am.
That's anybody's guess. I think both rosters, you look at Michigan, they have probably all the talent they could find.
Mm-hmm.
That's one hell of a team. You look at Michigan State, and they're probably playing as good as a team as anybody can.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think the two guard is going to be really important defensively. So Kerr better be warming up here, whether it's against Tom's mom or anybody else. They're going to need him. I think Devine has gotten a little better defensively, but I think there's still some growth to be had there.
Okay.
They're going to have to be sharp. I think the front court's going to have to be very, very good defensively as well. I really think this is going to come down to defense, and it's two of the best defending teams in the country. I think it's the Ben Franklin adage that a penny saved is a penny earned. Well, it's going to be a bucket saved and even a foul saved in this game that's going to really, really matter.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is some foul trouble in that matchup, just because of the sort of level of play and how much things are going to be flowing inside. But it should be a very, very good game, and I think it helps Michigan State to play that first one at home and maybe get a leg up in the race. Or I think whoever wins this one is going to be in pretty good shape to win the second, just on a psychological level and what it gives them in sort of the Big Ten race. But I do think that the game at the end of the season is probably going to have some title implications.
Okay.
I think even if one of these teams has to lose, right? I don't think anyone's going to be out of it after next Friday's game.
Okay.
I think the way this Big Ten schedule is shaping up, and the number of teams that are one loss in conference play right now, and sort of have a path to a title, it could be a shared title situation.
Yeah.
But it should be one hell of a game.
Okay, you are reserving your opinion for next week. I understand that, but Steve, you're shaking your head. What are you thinking?
What I'm thinking is Michigan State is a horrible matchup for Michigan, and there is no way the Spartans lose on Tom Izzo's birthday.
Okay, we'll be 71 years old that night, and we had someone on the show yesterday who did not realize that it was Izzo's birthday, but, his list of gifts that he wants here is like one, a win over Michigan, so, yeah. I want to take just a couple minutes here, gentlemen, very quickly to talk MSU hockey. Steve, Connor is a hockey guy. Okay, that is his passion. You have written hockey before you got to the Detroit News. Writing hockey was your line of work, Connor. What do you make of this race? Michigan State with a pair of games this weekend against Minnesota in Munn. With the news of Dan Sturgis's death here looming. What do you make of this, and what kind of environment are we going to see tonight at Munn?
That's a great question. I was thinking about that earlier today and sort of getting ready for the game and doing my prep and everything like that. Losses like this can really motivate a team, and they can also really sap a team. And If you think about Dan's impact on Michigan State, Adam had a great quote that, he probably made me look like a better coach than I am just because he was so passionate and such a good person. And, really cared about everyone in that locker room. Since he was a student, since he was on the team himself, won a national championship in 2007, everyone I've ever heard say anything about him, even before he passed, never had a bad word to say about him. And always talked about his passion and how much he cared. I mean, 19 people in his family have graduated from Michigan State, including himself. And I'm sure his kids will probably add to that list. But you think about a guy like that. That's a guy you want to go to war for, and in honor of, right? And so I do wonder if this is a game that's probably going to be dedicated in his memory. I don't see how it wouldn't be. I think that could be a source of motivation for this Michigan State team. Coming off of a sweep of Wisconsin that I think is as good as we've seen them play in one of those series. I mean, you think about what Wisconsin did, the sort of night and day of the first series that was at Munn and how they played in that one. I think that's a lot of growth for a team, but this is one of those pitfalls that happens in a season that there's just no script for, and in life, and it's tragic. The grief is really, really hard to deal with. I lost my dad a year and a few months ago, and it's something I think about every day. I can't imagine what those players are feeling in that locker room. But I think if there's a way they can channel this positively, it's to sort of honor his legacy and sort of use that as motivation to go win one for him. And I would guess with the way Minnesota's season has gone, they just had a pretty rough series against Michigan. Obviously stole a point off of them, but I think this is a matchup that Michigan State should probably win in normal circumstances. But it's just sort of that, what are they going to do with this, really, really tragic situation that I think is going to inform this series. But I do think Michigan State probably sweeps this one.
Steve, we're all going to die, right, at some point. Some are going to be above ground longer than others. But when you die at that age, you feel somehow that you, your family, and those you touched have been cheated in some way. I was texting back and forth with Adam this morning. And I said, regardless of the score of the game, I know who the first star is going to be. And I think it would be kind of cool. I don't have any idea that this would happen, but I think it would be kind of cool if Michigan State wins a game and they're naming the 3 stars, and they just name Dan Sturgis and just put a spotlight and let it go around the ice. It's he's had such an effect on so many people, and you don't realize it, but he spends all his time like coaching kids, doing other things, giving back. And Adam was telling the story about Dan. It's kind of funny. We need just a little bit of levity here. That he was famous for losing his phone or putting it in a place where he couldn't get to it, like in his car, and and then 6 hours later, people are trying to So there was that. But in terms of what he cared about and his passions, was never hard to understand and never far from the surface.
As someone who has cancer, I sometimes say, well, why have I gotten 66 years and Dan only got 40, and and I worked with someone that I was somewhat close to at University of Mississippi Medical Center, who got cancer and 6 months later died at 38. And it was that got me to retire, to enjoy what I could before my time.
Nothing is guaranteed, but I think we are going to get some good hockey this weekend. It's not the Minnesota that we have come to expect, but Michigan State has to play the Gophers 4 more times. Haven't seen Minnesota yet. So we will see you over at Munn Ice Arena, and at some point, I hope the two of you can get together, cross paths. Maybe we can make that work this weekend, because if you guys start talking hockey over a beverage, I can come back 3 hours later.
I'd happy to buy too, Connor.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm in.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Connor. We'll see you in a little bit. All right. We will be right back, and we're going to take a quick break. We're running behind as usual. Rob's shaking his head. We'll be talking with Rick Gosselin Pro Football Hall of Fame writer, columnist, especially covering the Kansas City Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys, and another author, Steve. This is Author Day. Be right back on The Drive with Jack.
Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our team of school bus drivers and attendants. Visit deanjobs.com to see all openings. Dean Transportation provides paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license, increased starting pay, comprehensive benefits, and flexible schedules with no weekend shifts. No experience needed. Apply today at deanjobs.com and train for back to school season. That's DEAN jobs.com.
Hey Jack, I'm looking for a lunch deal that actually scores.
One North Kitchen and Bar has a 2 for $12 lunch combo, right, Jeremy?
Absolutely. We can mix and match half sandwiches, salads, soups, or classics like cheese quesadillas and personal pizzas. Weekdays 11 to 2 and Saturdays from 10 to 2.
One North.
Easy win.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Jack Ebling here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graf of Okemos. Great time to get a great vehicle.
Fantastic time, Jack. 0% financing is back. Hard to believe this time right now we can get a vehicle with 0 interest.
Wow.
And if you're looking to pay cash, how about rebates up to $10,000? That's unheard of lately, right? $10,000 off on a vehicle. How about leasing? You want to lease? You can lease a vehicle right now in the low 3s. Come on out and take a look.
You're talking everyone's language. Stop and see Matt and the gang. They're making friends.
This is Joe.
Welcome back. It is The Drive with Jack, Spotlight Radio Network. That's okay, Rob. You could have played Joe Schmidt. Our next guest would have appreciated that. Someone who has written a great book, Steve, about St. Ambrose and legendary high school program in Detroit, but also a terrific book about the Kansas City Chiefs in the infancy with the merger, and still think about the last touchdown in AFL history was Len Dawson to Otis Taylor going down the sideline, right? Ursula McBee still chasing him. I want to welcome in Rick Gosselin, Hall of Fame writer, excuse me, covering the Chiefs and the Cowboys for most of his career. Rick, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jack. A little cold down here, though. A little cold.
Yeah. Pardon me if we don't have a lot of sympathy for you. We've stopped scraping our windshields here for a couple hours. That's about it. But we do have conference championships. What do you make of these 4 teams? And can you shed any light on the Jarrett Stidham experience?
Well, it's what do you like? Do you like defense? Do you like quarterbacks? There's the 2 home teams have defense. The 2 road teams have quarterbacks.
Right.
And frankly, I'm kind of partial to the quarterbacks. I think if Seattle's to win this game, I think they have to turn it over to Kenneth Walker. He's a Michigan-type game against the Rams for Seattle to win. They've done a great job of putting pieces around Darnold. He had a great season, but I think they've done a great job of protecting him. Stafford can go win the game on his own.
Right.
New England, I just find it hard to believe Mike Vrabel, with his defense, is going to lose to a backup quarterback. Stidham hasn't thrown a pass in 2 years. I mean, he's in his 6th year of his career. He's thrown 117 career passes. Yeah. He's going to see some exotic blitzes that haven't shown up on film yet. So I think, as hard as to believe, I think the two road teams, the two teams of the quarterbacks are going to win this thing.
We said yesterday, Rick, that if Jarrett Stidham is the MVP of the Super Bowl, he could get to Disney World, and not only would no one bother him, he might not be able to get in.
Well, he'd need to pull a ex-Spartan Nick Foles deal to win the Super Bowl MVP. But I don't see it. You got all 4 of these teams have top 10 defenses.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be. I think they're going to be low-scoring games.
Okay.
But again, I think they got 2 quarterbacks that make plays are going to be the teams that win.
Yeah. Steve, I hate whipping boys. Okay, and sometimes people, and sometimes there's some justification for it, but the handle sticks forever. And Sam Darnold, the last 2 years, has done what only Tom Brady has done, and that's win 28 regular season games in a span of 2 years. But I still know people who think that he's never completed a pass in his life, and whether they win or the Rams win, I hope he doesn't have a bad game.
Without question.
Yeah.
You go ahead, Steve. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I agree too. I want 2 great games, and typically the conference championship games are much better than the Super Bowl ends up being.
Right.
So,
yeah. Rick, in 2025, with an MVP performance, and especially with one more win, has Matthew Stafford punched his ticket to the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he can check 2 boxes. The MVP, I think he'll be the MVP.
Yeah.
And that's a huge check mark for quarterbacks. And to win 2 Super Bowls, that puts him above the Eli Mannings and the Jim Plunkett's, the guys that have 2 and can't get in. He's got. I mean, this is an elite franchise quarterback. He came into the league as an elite franchise quarterback. He was elite through all the losing years in Detroit. And when they finally surrounded him with a good team, he proved that he's Hall of Fame caliber.
Yeah, there was
it'd be a great story if he did win it.
Rick, there was one moment in a relatively meaningless game that forever showed me what Matthew Stafford was all about as a Lion. And they were playing Cleveland. And you remember, he got hurt, and he goes to the sideline, and then there's a stoppage, and he says, I can go in. And, I don't know, the doctors might have been sued, but he went back in the game and made the play he had to make. The Lions win, and then he hobbles off, and the biggest danger is teammates congratulating him or jumping on him and the excruciating pain he was in. But for a lot of guys, and I've seen it at the college level too, they're not about to play with what they consider to be that degree of pain, Steve.
But you go back to the, you think old school, right? We grew up with 60s and 70s football, and you didn't have a choice with coaches like Lombardi and Joe Schmidt, and you were going to play no matter what.
Yeah. Rick, you, for many years, were the foremost authority on officiating, and you would chart this. Now, you don't have to worry about this now, but can you explain that project, how you did it, and what kind of reaction you got from the National Football League?
Well, I took every Monday morning. I take the play-by-plays, the game books, and I chart the officials. And I charted the officials from 2002 until 2021, I think it was. And I had the running scorecard of every game they officiated, the average number of penalties they called, if the home teams won or lost, what officials were particularly hard or particularly easy on teams. And I generally do a report card, which was not well received. And I know Bill Vinovich told one head coach, because Vinovich was far and away the guy who called the fewest penalties. Vinovich told one head coach, I wish he'd stop doing that because I'm taking a lot of heat from my peers.
Did you ever
want him to come?
Did you find a tendency that this team's like unbeaten when this group of officials are on the field?
A lot of times. Yeah, and I think Kyle Jefferson was particularly difficult on Kansas City. There were some officials that were like 10-2 with teams, and others that were 2-12 with others. And that's what really. And a lot of times when I was doing the Cowboys, I'd always put out on Twitter that before the game, the officials and what the Cowboys' record was against his team, with his referee, home and road, and it was no. But now, I mean, so many people are now charting that.
Right.
It's fairly common knowledge now who the good ones are. And I historically they don't call that many penalties in the Super Bowl. They kind of let them play. Yeah. I wish they would have let them play during the playoffs. I think that was some of the worst officiating I've seen. That particular the Buffalo interception. And then the next day, the Pittsburgh play where he's ruled down. It just there's no consistency. And I wrote, I'd say 8 or 9 years ago, I said what this league needs to do is hire full-time officials and base them all in one city. And I use Dallas as that city because it's easier to get to all the NFL teams from Dallas and probably anywhere else, and you don't have weather. And have these guys, they're off, they do the game Sunday, they return Monday, they're off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They sit in an auditorium, all of the officials, and review all the penalties from all the games and try to get some consistency on what's called and what's not. That's the problem the coaches have. You don't know from one week to the next, from one building to the next, what's a penalty and what's not. Who calls holding? Who doesn't call holding? How much can your defensive backs get away with the hand checking that some crews don't let them do it? But these crews never get together and they never discuss it. They only discuss it amongst themselves. And that just has led to just a complete lack of inconsistency and just horrific officiating. Horrific.
Rick, what do NFL officials make? What is the range?
I think they can make. I can't.
Is it per game that they're paid, or is it for season?
No, I think they're paid. They're paid per season. But these are all part-time jobs. That's the problem I've got. These guys are bankers, lawyers, attorneys, college profs. I think they can make up to $200,000.
Okay.
As officials, I mean that's a ballpark figure.
Do you think many of them would say, "I'd rather stay with my job. I'm not going to quit it and move to Dallas or wherever"?
And that's what the officials always say. If you do this, if you make us go, you will lose all the good officials. Well, maybe it's time to lose all these officials. Maybe it's time to start over. And get some younger guys that can keep up with the flow and pace of the game. And guys with sharper vision. I think they've got to go to full time. There's so many, and especially now with all the gambling involved. You got to develop some kind of consistency. You're losing credibility with the public. And that's and these are your ticket buyers.
I want to go back to two things you said and follow up. One is the record for certain officials with certain teams. Do you think that they had it in for those teams, or is it style of play? They weren't good at calling pass interference and teams that threw the deep ball, or what would explain that?
Well, I think a lot of times the best teams get favorable calls. I think New England was one of the lowest penalty teams for 20 years when Belichick was coaching the Patriots. They didn't commit penalties, and they always got the benefit of the doubt. And the teams that are the Chiefs, we've seen this over the last 3-4 years when they were, rolling and winning Super Bowls. Everybody complained about the Chiefs getting favoritism. I think as a good team, you kind of earn that right to get the favorable calls. And I think that's one of the problems with officiating today.
Chicago Bulls during the Michael Jordan era.
And you talk about some of the abuse he took too. I guess that goes the other way. But the call that you're talking about with the interception, was it a catch, wasn't it a catch? Do you understand that rule, what it's supposed to be? Because I think officials interpret it differently, sometimes in the same game.
Well, it was over the weekend. I mean, I thought when I saw the replay, I thought that was a catch.
I did
too. He had two hands on the ball. His knee, his leg was on the ground, and during the rollover, the defensive back ripped it out of his hands. But he's down. And then the next day in Pittsburgh, it was the next day, Rodgers is going down, and his knee goes down, and he ripped the ball out of his hands because it's held above his head, and they ruled him down by contact.
Yeah.
It was essentially the same play.
Yeah. They say surviving the ground, and if a guy hits the ground and rolls over 3 times.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. It's not like that if you go out of bounds. It's not like that if you go into the end zone.
Right. See, that's one of my pet peeves. I think, especially for touchdowns, I think if the score touchdown, the ball always has to end up in the scorer's hand. The quarterback reaches over the goal line and it's slapped out of his hand. They call it a touchdown.
Yeah.
I maintain that you have to maintain possession.
Right.
Go back way before our time, Jack. In tackle football, you had to hold the runner down. If you tackled him, he could get up and go. You had to hold the runner down for him to be down.
Yeah.
And I do think that maintain possession of the ball.
Yeah.
It's gotten, again, everything is so favoring the offense, and that shouldn't be one of the things they favor the offense on.
It is so strange, Rick, and I know you've seen this many times. Go back through the archival footage, and you see a guy tackled, but he's not being held down. He's not being pinned, and he gets up and runs again.
Exactly. But that's when they were allowed to play football, play offense, and play defense. Right. Now it's all geared toward the quarterback. And you'll see sometimes like a Brady, they'll call him forward motion before a sack, or if you get the ball off, and you gotta let the defensive players play football. I think a lot of these roughing the passers calls are borderline. Again, you go back to the AFL era with Len Dawson and Ben Davidson and Ted Hendricks and Joe Namath, and you see quarterbacks getting clocked, getting their helmets knocked off, and that was never roughing the passer. But now they're saying if you land on the quarterback, even if you brace your fall, especially if the quarterback's Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes, they're going to throw a flag.
Yeah.
It's just, again, the officiating is, and don't get me started on the NBA officiating.
Well, I want to get you started on college hockey very quickly because you are coming up here. Is it the Notre Dame series?
Yes, sir. Notre Dame series. Can't wait. Just booked all my travel today.
Steve is up here from Mississippi to see Michigan State, Minnesota this weekend, among some other events while he is here as a Lansing native.
Mm-hmm.
But, Steve, you and Rick could also talk college hockey going back decades. And when you think about, Rick, we were probably watching the same games in Dem Hall with Zippy Thompson. And
Jules Gagnon.
Yes, exactly. And you think about those teams of Emil Bassoni, the pre-Mason years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bob Rowley. Did you guys see Bob Rowley at all?
I didn't see him play, but I know his significance. He's the only guy to have a national championship in football and in hockey.
In the same season.
Same season, 1966.
Yep.
Pretty incredible to think you could play defense and then,
scored the winning goal in the national championship game.
How about that?
Yeah.
Great trivia. Great bar trivia.
So when you look at this Michigan State hockey team now, and so much emotion this week with the death of Dan Sturgis, how does that impact a team? I guess it can send some teams into a death spiral and motivate others to new heights. What do you expect it to be like tonight at Munn, Rick?
No, I expected an inspired performance. You saw the press conference of Nightingale all broken up by it. I think that's the emotion you're going to have in that locker room before the game. And this is, I can't say this many years, but this is clear-cut a better team than Minnesota.
Yeah.
I watched the Minnesota-Michigan series last week on Big Ten Plus, and Minnesota played them good the second game, but Michigan State just got so much depth. And I am still waiting for Riker Lee to kick it into high gear. I think he's got so much more to offer. This is an elite talent.
Yeah.
And we don't, we've seen some great moves and such, and even some great goals, but we've seen flashes, not complete in overall dominance, which he's capable of doing.
Right.
This is a good team. This is a national championship caliber team, and it's going to be fun with these four teams to top. You talking about four of the best teams in the country in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
I mean that Big Ten tournament will be akin to the NCAA tournament because all four of those teams are deserving.
Steve, when Rick talks about Riker Lee, and he has these moments, right? The flashes where you go, wow, where'd that come from? But going into the season, I had no idea if Porter Martone would be as good as Caden Lindstrom. I think I know now.
Yeah.
And one of them is one of the best players in college hockey, and the other one hasn't quite found it yet.
No. And so we can't be too disappointed McKenna didn't come here, right? If that meant Porter Martone was coming.
Yeah, that was the consolation prize?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good. Rick, can't wait to see you and Mike Pursuta when you come in for your annual midwinter pilgrimage. And look forward to getting together. And there are several establishments in town that have tables reserved for us.
Yes, sir. I look forward to it, too. I appreciate it, Jack.
Rick Gosselin, Hall of Fame writer covering the NFL as well as anyone has for many, many, many decades. All right, we will be right back. And, Steve, we're going to talk with Jim Stark, Detroit correspondent. And we're going to talk about the inductees into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Two outfielders. One of them was here and got to know him a little bit as a Lansing Lugnut. And we're also going to talk about the Wings and the Pistons and maybe a little bit about what the Lions are thinking watching the NFC Championship game in Matthew Stafford. We'll be right back on The Drive with Jack.
Jack Ebley here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graph of Okemos. Some great product here in early 2026.
You got it, Jack. Here at Chevy, we have, backed by popular demand, the all-new Bolt, redesigned and back in full force for us. People are really excited about that vehicle. It did great for us in the past.
Great.
And then next door, the Nissan Sentra, completely redesigned for that model. Great fuel economy. It's going to be a hot seller for us.
Stop and see Matt and the gang at Graph of Okemos. They're making friends.
Dean Transportation is looking for compassionate people to join our team of school bus drivers and attendants. Visit deanjobs.com to see all openings. Dean Transportation provides paid training to obtain a commercial driver's license, increased starting pay, comprehensive benefits, and flexible schedules with no weekend shifts. No experience needed. Apply today at deanjobs.com and train for back to school season. That's DEAN jobs.com.
Hey, Jack, you love a good gift card.
Yes, Jeremy, I do.
One North makes it even better. Reload your One North gift card now through January for 15% off and keep those good meals coming. Lunch, dinner, happy hour, covered. Reload it, use it, repeat. One North Kitchen and Bar.
Where gift cards keep giving.
So, it's been a while since you've had your jewelry cleaned and inspected, right? Where will you go and who will you trust with your most valuable and treasured heirlooms? At Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage, jewelry isn't just our job, it's our passion. Each and every piece entrusted in our care is thoroughly inspected by our trained staff against damage or normal wear. And we offer you, our customer, the highest level of quality on repairs and custom designs. Whether it's worn out prongs, channels, or shanks, it's all handled with incredible care. Meadowar Jewelers in Lansing, Okemos, Jackson, and Portage want to help you preserve your memories and offer you options on creating new ones. Come in today for the cleaning and inspection of your jewelry. We continue to work hard every day to earn your confidence and trust.
Jack Ebley here with my good friend Matt Sloan at Graph of Okemos. Great time to get a great vehicle.
Fantastic time, Jack. 0% financing is back. Hard to believe this time right now we can get a vehicle with 0 interest.
Wow.
And if you're looking to pay cash, how about rebates up to $10,000? That's unheard of lately, right? $10,000 off on a vehicle. How about leasing? You want to lease? You can lease a vehicle right now in the low 3s. Come on out and take a look.
We're talking everyone's language. Stop and see Matt and the gang. They're making friends.
Welcome back. It is the Drive with Jack, Spotlight Radio Network. Jack Ebling here with my co-host today, Steve Waite up from Mississippi for his annual midwinter visit to Michigan State, seeing some basketball, hockey, seeing some friends, coming into the studio, and just joined by Jay Green, proud Flintstone, Spartan Dog for life, best dressed guy in town. We'll be talking with him in just a few minutes, but we want to welcome in Jim Stark, Detroit correspondent, and loves baseball. He's a senior baseball player, Steve. I mean, still playing. We're not talking about slow pitch softball in the beer league, right?
Right.
We're talking about baseball, okay? And when you're doing that and you're over 50, and Jim is over 50 plus, that tells me a little bit about your love of the game. Jim, do you love the Hall of Fame selections for 2026?
Hey, we had our first off-season meeting the other night, Jack, for our baseball teams. We're off and running already.
Jeez. And the age group, what bracket is this? How old did they go?
Well, we play in the I play in the 50 and over bracket, but I am a little bit older than 50, as you mentioned.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But I'm not ready. I'm not ready to join the 16 league yet. So
okay,
I'm going to keep playing as long as I can in the 50 league.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I thought it was about as what I expected. Mm-hmm. Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones are the only guys on that list.
Okay.
Other than obviously Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez that wouldn't even come close to qualifying.
Right,
so
right.
Doesn't surprise me. I've been a big fan of Andrew Jones for a long time. I thought for those 10 years, when he was in his prime, he was as good as anybody.
Right.
He was an exciting, dynamic player, 10 straight Golden Gloves, a lot of power, combined power and speed. Carlos Beltran was Mr. Consistent. You know, he was never the best at any one part of his game, but he was Mr. Consistent, and he had a great long career.
Yeah.
I think both very good selections.
What about guys who might get in or moving in that direction?
I'm so glad you asked me that, Jack. There is nobody.
Really?
The next jump down it is Chase Utley, and there's no way Chase Utley is a Hall of Famer. He's got 30 hit, just under 40% this year. He's got a long way to go. And you look at his numbers, he doesn't even come close to Lou Whitaker's numbers, put it that way.
Okay.
And then after him, you see Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez. They ain't going to make it in, right?
Yeah.
And after that, you go down to Andy Pettit, and no one above Andy Pettit had 28% this year in his 8th year. I don't see anyone in this list, and then all the first-timers this year, no one on that list will make. So I think that you don't see anyone from this list make it until somebody else comes on newly eligible.
So why isn't Lou in the Hall of Fame? Sweet Lou.
The biggest reason is he played Detroit, frankly, and he was the kind of personality that was, never anyone that kind of promoted himself.
Right.
If you look at the stats, his stats are as good as a lot of are better than a lot of second basemen in the major leagues. Lou Whitaker did it all under the radar. He stayed in Detroit the whole time. Didn't ever go for the big press presence. But he was, and of course he and Trammell were together. So that's the biggest reason. If he'd have played in New York or Chicago, he'd have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago.
Trammell's in. And a lot of people look at Lou's statistics and draw the same conclusions that you guys do. But, there's got to be a reason why the voters have overlooked him. But it is a vote, right? This is not some exactly scientific metric thing. The writers, the Baseball Writers Association of America, either says you're in or you're out. So
remember, Jack, Tram got in this new
Veterans Committee. Yeah.
That's how Lou's going to get in. Now, the way they do it, you only come up every 3 years. Now, he wasn't on the final this year, so it'll be 3 more years, but I think he's just too good. And you see some of these guys going in now. Lou Whitaker is every bit as good or better than him, so I think his time's coming. And again, the whole idea of him and Tram playing second and short together for 20 years, that will gain traction. As we see guys not even playing for 20 years, much as playing the same position together, that'll gain more and more, I think, importance.
Does it matter how you get in? If you get in the Veterans Committee, is it kind of like a back door? Is it like a second-class initiation?
I don't think so. No, you're the same plaque, you're the same everything. I think maybe in that year it might maybe have a little different, but in the long term you're a Hall of Famer, and your numbers and your stats speak for themselves, and that's the end story. And again, the Trammell and Whitaker story is such a great one of playing together for 20 years. Those kind of things you can't invent.
All right, I heard some comments after the announcement, and Jim respected baseball people, okay, people that you see all the time on the national networks, saying that in the next couple of years, a couple guys' stats will gain value, not Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez or anyone else with the PED stigma, but that Chase Utley will get in and King Felix will get in.
Well, if that's true, Jack, then the Hall of Fame standards are going to change remarkably. Because if you look at Felix, he's got 169. And I know it's not all about just wins and losses, okay? Mm-hmm. But he's got 169 wins, 136 losses. Frankly, Andy Pettitte has a more. He's got 256. He's got almost 100 more wins and only maybe 80 more losses. So
he played for the Yankees too, so you have to figure that in, right? I mean, he has a big built-in advantage.
I have people telling me in my ear, Jack, what you're going to see is a lot more guys get elected because of the metrics, not the raw numbers, not the batting average, not the home run, but the metrics, the WAR. So if that's the case, then it's changing the game.
Right.
Changing the game because a guy could have a great WAR. And I guess you look at someone like Sandy Koufax. Yeah. He may be the best example of someone that got in without the raw numbers. But for his time in the major leagues, he was as good, maybe better than anybody.
That's right.
So maybe it's going to start looking at those raw, the metric numbers and the impact on their game in their time.
And some people look at what have you done as a body of work. Longevity matters. For others, it's have you ever been an MVP? Have you been the best in the business? Certainly the best on your team over a period of time. And if you can't answer that question, you can't clear that hurdle, it makes it very difficult for you. But I want to spend a little bit of time here, Jim, if we can.
Yeah.
Talking about the Detroit Pistons.
Yep.
And where they are right now. Would you be surprised if they are not at least in the Eastern Conference Final?
Well, right now I would be, Jack, because they are by far and away the best team right now in the Eastern Conference. And I went and saw, of course, that game against the Celtics, and the Celtics were banged up, but so were the Pistons. But you know what? The Pistons are a different team. They are just playing different. Their defense, their clutch play, they are just a different team in these last year or so than they were. I mean, they've improved so much. And again, you got a starting all-star now, and Kate Cunningham, one of the 5 starters. That's really market improvement.
Yeah. Steve, you follow Detroit pro sports as closely as anyone south of the Mason-Dixon line. What question do you have for Jim Stark, who's down there at all these games?
Well, I'm going to switch to the Red Wings for a second.
All right.
Sure, they're leading the Atlantic Division right now, but they played more games than those that are trailing them. But I want to know how you think the Olympic break is going to affect them.
Well, that's a great question because they haven't done it in a long time. You know what? I think because they're all taking the break, it's going to affect them all the same. You know how we always see in the playoffs when one team gets a long layoff and they come back and they just aren't the same team. The fact that they're all taking the same break, I think it's going to be a ramp up when they come back. It'll be like a little mini training camp because 2 weeks if you're not playing a long time. But I don't think you won't see it in the play as much because they'll all be in the same level basically. But I will say this: the Yzer plan, is now in its 8th year. It sure seems to be finally bearing fruit. And right now they are playing as good as any team in their conference. So it's pretty impressive to see some of these guys. Some of these, Yzerman kept saying, "Be patient." Well, people are patient, and now they're starting to see the payoff. But he's got to make the Pistons do not have to make a big deal at the trading deadline to be a contender. If they just play the way they are now, they can really be a contender. The Red Wings, I think, need to make a deal for a big-time scorer to get them into that same stratosphere.
We were talking about this last week, Steve. How should Patrick Kane's accomplishment now, pursuit of Mike Modano as the leading scorer among American players, and I still think Chris Chelios is the greatest American-born player, but in terms of Kaner's reputation and what his career will be, how it'll be chronicled, and how weird is it that Chelios and Kane spent so many years in Chicago, hated by Detroit fans, and now they're here revered and loved.
I love it, and you have to take it like, okay, so I never liked Stafford when he was in Detroit.
Yeah.
And I know I'm in the minority in that.
Yeah, you are.
But yes, great in minority. But now that he's a Ram,
yeah,
I have learned to appreciate him, and I think the same is true for those two in that they have now that in Detroit appreciate them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And Kane, he's earned everything that he's gotten, and I love it when they have to go to overtime and 3-on-3 and he's on the ice because it's going to end quickly.
I'm glad you brought up Matthew Stafford. Jim, how do you think the Detroit Lions organization and Lions fans are going to be viewing this NFC Championship game, the Rams at Seattle, if Stafford is the MVP and wins a second Super Bowl and Jared Goff is sitting at home watching it? Does that make it tougher?
No, I don't think so. I think that deal they made was so necessary, Jack. Stafford was not going to win like that in Detroit for a lot of reasons. Mm-hmm. Okay, look at the haul of players they got for that trade. Besides, their new quarterback. But listen, I just think Stafford played so hard for Detroit. Yeah, they're not going to be. No one's going to admit in the Lions organization that they're rooting for him. I think there's a sense of pride because he's such a class guy. Mm-hmm. He's never said anything bad and all good about Detroit. I think you feel good about him as a Detroit fan because he gave you all he had, and now he's finally getting to the payoff. He wouldn't have done that in Detroit.
Yeah. Hey guys, we talk about the Hall of Fame we did earlier here, and in the Baseball Hall of Fame, you would go in representing a team, right? And the question was, is the guy going to go in as a Padre or a Yankee, Dave Winfield, whatever the case might be, right? But it's not quite like that in football. Your bust doesn't have the uniform where you're identified like that with a team. If it were, and Matthew Stafford were to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, do you think he would be identified as a Detroit Lion or an LA Ram?
Ram.
What do you think, Jim?
Well, I think it's a great question, Jack. I hadn't thought about it that way, but you're right. Would he have been a Hall of Famer had he not got to L.A.? I'd say no. So maybe he does have to be a Ram because that's where he really crystallized his Hall of Fame credentials.
If he has 2 Super Bowls as a result, I think it's worthy of the discussion. Jim, thanks so much for joining us. Look forward to getting you here in studio,
Jack,
too.
Hopefully I'll see you next week, right? But I want to leave with something. We talked about the Pistons and the trading deadline. Michael Porter Jr. from the Brooklyn Nets. That's the guy I have my radar on for some of the Pistons might try to make a move for if they're going to make a move. He fits the need of what they need with a power forward who could shoot. He'll be expensive, but it'll cost them at least Harris and Ivy and maybe a couple of picks. But if they're going to make a move, that's the guy I have pegged to make the move for.
Yeah. Well, you can make the bold move or you can be Scott Harris. So
we'll see, right?
Yep. I'm all about the move, right? Don't want to have any regrets. So if that's what they decide they need to do, go do it. All right. Thanks so much, Jim. We're going to stay right here and turn our attention to a guy I watched the game with last night, and you saw briefly, Steve. Mm-hmm. Jay Green. And Jay, a lot of people would not know of your passion for women's basketball. In many ways, you prefer it to the men's game.
Yes, I really do.
Why?
So I feel like the women are more skilled because I feel like that's something that they kind of work on, and this isn't something that just started. This is from my childhood because in Flint we had a lot of great women's teams. Flint Northern with the McGee twins, and then you had Tanya Edwards, and the list just goes on and on. So this isn't something that just started. I've always liked women's basketball, but now the NBA turned me off. I forgot what year it was, but it was just they were shooting an ungodly amount of 3-pointers, and it just didn't make sense to me, and it kind of just
not basketball.
Exactly. It just turned me away from it. Now, it might have changed now, but I don't know because I just haven't tuned in since. So,
Rob, we've been talking about these video shows that we're doing 3 days a week now, and you can see them all on YouTube. And They're posted all over the place. We're trying to branch out with our social media presence and all that. But gotten some good reaction to the video. I think if you're not watching now, if you're listening, you may want to go on YouTube and find us, right? Just to Drive with Jack Ebling, you'll find it. All right, Drive with Jack, you'll find it. And the reason I say that is you got to check out Jay Green's attire, right?
I just was going to say we got some much better looking people in the studio than me and you.
That's probably true, unfortunately. But there's a lot of facial hair in the studio today. I can tell you that.
It's cold out. We need that.
That's right.
So, Jay, sitting there last night, the game that Michigan State won 3 times, led by 14 points in the first quarter and then trailed at the half, and then led by 12. And next thing you know, Southern California has 10 points in 41 seconds. Michigan State has to win the game a third time. I asked Robin Freilich in the postgame if that's taking the idea of a game of runs to new limits, and she said, have you watched us this year? That's kind of the way we do it. We overcome 16-point leads, and we give away leads and that, but it's never dull.
Well, I think for me, because it was my first game actually attending, it was new for me, so I didn't realize that was that was the trend, and that's how they did things. If that was the case, we might have felt a little bit differently in our observation of what was going on. So
what was your take on Steve Waite's favorite Michigan State player, Kennedy Blair?
She played with a lot of passion.
Yeah.
I think that I don't think we would have won without her, because I feel like she gave us the spark that we needed.
Yeah.
When we were
screaming.
Yes,
she would and ones and some colorful language.
She was going to the basket. She got a couple of and ones that were really pivotal.
Yep.
And like I said, with the passion that she played with, because a lot of times in our eyes it looked bleak as far as 10 points in 41 seconds. Like, that's unheard of, really.
Yeah.
And then it happened so quick that we didn't even realize that it was, that so little time had went by.
We had to go back and check it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Steve, we have talked ad nauseum about Michigan State's inability to finish around the basket.
And through contact.
Yes. And my point is that sometimes they just look a little awkward with the ball. And it's, part of the reason sometimes balls go off their hands, but especially around the basket, the short shots.
Mm-hmm.
And you think it's a strength issue.
Yeah, I think they need strength and conditioning issue so that they are strong enough. And if you look at the best teams in the country, like right now, UConn, South Carolina, last night's loss aside, they have inside people, 4s and 5s, even 3s, that can rebound and score through contact, and it's because of their strength and conditioning. And I know last year I saw an interview where they were talking with the South Carolina team, and they're pumping iron before a game. And I know there was a time back when I was in high school where when basketball season came around, you were told not to pump iron because it was going to affect your shot. But that's changed now.
Is that what affected your shot? Were you pumping too much iron? Was that the secret? Is that what kept you out of the league, Steve?
Yeah. I was too much of a gun. So.
And can I add to that, Jack, that I feel like that the teams that he's mentioned, they have better players at that position than Michigan State may have. As far you talk about a lot of 4- and 5-star talent at those programs, because I feel like Michigan State has just as good as facilities or better and just as good as weight program as those teams. So I agree with him that I feel like that's part of it, but I also feel like a bigger part of it is the talent discrepancy.
Steve, I learned something from Jay I learn a lot of things from Jay. He doesn't believe that, but last night he hit me with something I had no idea of. And after the game, I mentioned this to Grace Van Sluten, and her mouth dropped open. She said, "Really?" But you think about the team we saw last night, the Trojans, and Jazzy Davidson had all the hype coming in. We did see Juju Watkins in street clothes, but everyone wanted to see Jazzy, and she kind of lived up to the billing. Her outside shot wasn't on, but you could see the gifts she had. But Kara Dunn was terrific. She had 25 points, including those 2 after-hours bank shots, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
For 6 points.
Yeah.
But, Jay, there's a backstory to Kara Dunn at Breslin Center. What can you tell us?
So Kara is a friend of Curtis Daniel, who's a friend of yours and a friend of mine.
Patchwork Studios.
In Atlanta. And when it came time for the portal and she went in the portal, Curtis was very active in trying to get her here. And
3-time leading scorer at Georgia Tech and all ACC forward.
Yes, so he was very active in trying to get her here. Didn't work out, but I think that we were one of the final schools that she was considering transferring to.
Yeah. She did the Zoom call, right, with the staff and everything. Did she ever visit campus?
I don't think she ever visited campus. I think she just kind of met with them over Zoom. And
so it wasn't like she's in Georgia and she doesn't like scraping windshields, so she went to Southern California.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. What did you think of Kara Daniels, Steve? Or Kara Dunn.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Kara Dunn.
Thought she was excellent. I really came to see Kennedy Smith. The 2 Kennedys at the guard spot. She didn't impress.
May the best Kennedy win.
Yes, exactly. And the best Kennedy did win. But I thought SC made a run, especially in that first half, to take the lead. They moved Kennedy Smith into the lane and to draw Kennedy Blair with her because they were guarding each other for a while.
And let me say, Rob and Steve, how great of a feeling it is to tell Jack something that he doesn't know, because in my mind he knows everything.
Well,
my wife does that every day.
Well, and I want to concur on your feelings about women's basketball, because 3 years ago, Amy and I went up to Bloomington to see Mackenzie Home and IU against Michigan State.
Yeah.
And that game still today is one of the most entertaining games I've ever seen. IU won that 94-91, and it was every bit exciting as that.
And can I say, Jack, I feel like a big part of the excitement also for the women's game is something that we talked about yesterday, and you kind of mentioned it. I never really thought about it. The fact that you have, because it's split up into quarters, you have 4 times, that the game can be very exciting.
That's right.
And in men's college, you don't have that, because for the life of men, college basketball, it's just been 2 20-minute halves.
And Jay asked a great question last night. Said, do you think that will change at any point? And I think it will. And talking to Izzo late at night, I think that the idea eventually is to make college basketball a shorter version of the NBA game. You're going to see the timeout, advance the ball, everything you see in the NBA. In the women's game, they don't have 1-and-1s. It's 2-shot free throw. And you have the quarter system. So the men's game is behind the women's game, but I think the men's game is going to catch up in terms of shortening the clock. All of these things, it's going to just be NBA light. Eventually.
They better hurry up, because the women's game is fast coming.
Right. I just, if they could advance the ball already, I mean, that would be a big help.
I agree.
Especially the MSU men struggle sometimes to inbound the ball when they have to go full court late in a game.
Yeah. Well, Michigan State in action tomorrow against a Maryland team that is way below Terrapin standards, Steve. We're used to Lefty Driesell, the Gary Williams, and on through, even last year. You remember the great game in College Park, Trey Holloman hitting that shot from beyond midcourt to win it. What happened to Maryland? Buzz Williams gets there and they fall apart.
I have no idea, because I wasn't expecting this at all this season.
Well, they lost a lot of their players. I mean, they moved on to portal moves and things.
But and maybe it's in the water, because the Maryland women aren't the team I expected them to be this year either.
Yeah.
With the addition of, Yarden and Garzone from IU, the
still won last night, right?
In overtime.
Overtime?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, they lost in overtime to Iowa.
Oh, they lost in overtime.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So they have Ohio State coming up.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Ohio State, Maryland. That should be a lot of press in that game.
Yeah.
Over under turnovers 50 in that game, I think. But we saw it last night, and Southern Cal turns it over 25 times and only shoots 8 free throws. Michigan State shooting 24. Lindsey Gottlieb not real thrilled with that. But, sometimes when you're new kid on the block and you're making all these trips eastward, that has an effect too. And they got in at a ridiculous hour. They'd had plane trouble. So they had like 8 hours sitting in the airport. And they got in at like 5 a.m. Crazy.
Just in time for the shoot-around.
Yeah.
And to come in from California to this weather, that's a slap in the face for sure.
Yeah. And they're saying, why did we want to join this league? What's the point here? Yeah, but it would have been interesting to see USC. And I think a lot of fans, when they originally knew that UCLA and USC would be coming in this winter, so excited about seeing Juju Watkins. And I didn't know that she was there till you pointed her out. But people trying to get her autograph and things during the game. And Steve, I don't know if you saw this, but she had some snacks, right? Because she's not playing in the game.
Right.
And so every time there's a timeout, she's standing behind Gottlieb and the staff. And she's like, I don't know if she's eating Skittles or what. And finally she starts passing them out to other players. I said, this can't be part of a timeout, but it was.
Hey, when you are the player that she is, you can pretty much do
whatever you want. That's
right. That's right.
Yes.
All right. So, Jay, we are 1 week away from Michigan State in Breslin Center. It looks like it's going to be 19-2 Michigan State and either 19-1 or 18-2 Michigan, depending on if Nebraska can sting them in Chrysler Center. We've never had a matchup at this time of the year where these teams have both had 19 wins. And championship implications. Excited about this? A countdown? You think people are kind of looking past the next two games?
No, I think people are definitely looking past the next two games. I think people have been talking about this game for the past few weeks, especially since the New Year started, because that's when it kind of picked up steam. And I think that people are very excited about it. Both teams are doing well, and that's, when you think about it, that's very rare that both teams are doing as well as they are. So I think that adds to it. And with it being an in-state rivalry, it's one of those epic situations, I feel like. Friday night, when do you ever have a Friday night Michigan State basketball game?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's huge.
Steve, we have seen some epic Spartans-Wolverines clashes. And we've seen teams pull upsets going back to 1966. Cassie Russell's last regular season game lost in Jennison Fieldhouse. I think about Irvin as a freshman losing here on the Mark Lozier shot from 45 feet. And then the next year, Keith Smith hit a free throw with no time left to give Michigan wins. So Irvin's 2-2 against Michigan. And then you think about some of the routes, 114-63 here, the last game when Mateen set the Big Ten assist record, and 2019 when both teams were in the top 10 and they didn't play till the last 2 weeks of the season, and then they played 3 times and Michigan State won all 3. But there's one thing, guys, we will not see next Friday night, I predict. You're not going to see a confrontation at the logo in the last few seconds. Trey Holloman is at North Carolina State right now, and I would think that it probably had dawned on Dusty May by now that this is a rivalry.
Yeah. I would agree, and my thing about that is I always feel like this is something that you have to experience. Like, it's not something that people can tell you about where you're going to understand until you actually go through it. And I think his experience last year kind of opened his eyes, because look at what his team is now compared to last year and all the moves that he made. And I feel like, that's directly affected by this rivalry and needing to be successful in this rivalry.
Steve, I don't know that I've seen a bigger, better front line in the Big Ten than what Michigan has right now. Yaxel Lendeborg, 6'9", 240. Some people thought he could be the consensus National Player of the Year. I don't think that's going to happen, but certainly going to be a first-round draft choice. Morez Johnson Jr., a guy that Tom Izzo really liked when he couldn't get off the bench at Illinois, but Dusty May saw the same thing and paid him exorbitantly, and he has lived up to it, earned every cent. 6'11", 240. He would be a center on almost every team in the country. But Mara, and is he 7'3"?
7'3".
7'3", but passes the ball so incredibly well. It's going to be interesting matchups for Michigan State with Cooper and Kohler. And I was thinking about how foul trouble could determine the outcome of this game. Let's say Jackson Kohler gets 2 quick fouls. Or let's say Elliot Cadeau for the Wolverines gets 2 quick fouls, and suddenly it's Jeremy Fear's ball game. I think those calls, not fouling a guy out, but getting a guy on the bench for 12 minutes of the first half, could decide the whole thing.
No, I would agree. Foul trouble is something that you always have to think about, especially in a game like this, because you wonder how much the officials will actually let them play or how tight they'll call it. So I think that the point that you made is very valid and will be a big factor in what goes on in this game.
Jay, it's great to have you in studio. I hope we can do this more often with better weather.
Oh, I'll be here every Friday if you have me.
There you go.
Did you hear that, Rob?
There you go.
Wow. All right. That means Friday's going to be must-see TV. Looking forward to that. And, Steve, I will see you shortly over at Munn Ice Arena. And I'm going to introduce you to Connor Eargood.
Excellent.
And we're going to hook you up with Rick Gosselin's contact information, too, so you guys can reminisce a little bit about that and much, much more. I want to thank all of our guests today and really all week, but today really appreciate Jim Gum from the Blitz newsletter in Tennessee. It is your best source of information. I'm telling you, it's 12 pages. It's concise. Take you a half hour a week, and you'll never have to buy lunch again. Jim Gum, we always appreciate his appearances on the show. Connor Eargood from the Detroit News does a great job covering Michigan State football and basketball. And, Steve, when you meet Connor, you're going to think, like, are you a sophomore or a junior in college? But wise beyond his years. And really appreciate him joining us each week. Rick Gosselin, Pro Football Hall of Famer and diehard Spartan hockey fan extraordinaire. And he's written the books about the Kansas City Chiefs and even St. Ambrose High School in Detroit. Jim Stark, our Detroit area correspondent, and Jay Green. We'll see you Sunday night on Press Pass with Tom Crawford and Haley Shongard. Have a great weekend.